President Donald Trump have reached a compromise on the wording of a final summit statement on trade, but remain at odds on climate change. On trade, the bloc will commit to fighting protectionism, but will also allow what they term legitimate measures to protect their markets. The outcome represents a compromise with Trump, who wants to do more to protect domestic companies from foreign competition through his America First policy. However, on climate change, negotiators remain at loggerheads following Trump's decision to withdraw the United States from the 2015 Paris Climate Accord. The sticking point in the communique is about fossil fuels, blamed for global warming, with the United States side wanting to be able to continue to export and promote their use. Meanwhile, the streets of Hamburg are a scene of chaos, with protesters clashing with the police. Hamburg authorities brace themselves for another day of demonstrations at the G20 summit. 2 days of demonstrations have left 200 officers injured and a trail of destruction. Heavily armed police commandos moved in last night after activists spent much of the day attempting to gain control of the streets from the police. Police fired tear gas to disperse the crowds, and dozens of protesters have since been detained. German Chancellor Angela Merkel says she can understand peaceful protests, but demonstrations of this nature are unacceptable. And earlier on, we spoke to our very own SABC reporter, Mzwandile Mbeje, about Africa's role at the G20 summit.
This has been a very important day today, because in the first part of the day there was a big discussion about Africa and what the whole world can do working with African countries to make sure that there is development in the African continent. As you know, South Africa was given a role to lead in the discussions this morning about a partnership between the world and the African continent. As you know, there was a huge discussion last year at the G20 summit in Hangzhou about what needed to be done to make sure that Africa, that other parts of the world develops. And so building on that, the German presidency of the G20 has also proposed a compact with the African continent using Agenda 2063 to take Africa to the next step of development. So the whole first half of the day has been dedicated on development in the African continent, on issues of migration. As you know, there's been a huge discussion about migration, but also on issues of health. So it has been a very important day. Yesterday, the whole yesterday was dedicated to issues of global economic development, as well as the health of the global economy, as well as trade. So the discussion shifted this morning to focus on the African continent and what can be done to make sure that Agenda 2063 is realized.
And